Well, there is mounting pressure in the Republican race for 2012. You can just sense it, right? It's out there.
Getting a little pressure cooker out there.
It's happening. Hi, everybody. I'm Jenna Lee. We're glad you're with us.
I'm John Scott. Newt Gingrich and Mitt Romney are eyeing each other as they try to plot strategy to win the GOP nomination.
You know, there are reports that suggest Romney supporters want him to start hitting Gingrich harder in order to close the deal with voters. Fred Barbash is managing editor of CQ Weekly. And Fred, you just had a big article as well on Newt Gingrich and his past few decades in politics. So you're a great person to ask about this. The reason for wanting Romney to get more aggressive, according to these reports, is interesting. The why is interesting. The report suggests that Gingrich is Mitt Romney's first serious competitor. Do you agree with that?
Well, no. He is the current remaining competitor. There have been serious competitors every week, as you know as well as I do. Perry was a serious competitor. Kane was a serious competitor. Even Ron Paul is a serious competitor in Iowa. So I don't think he's his first serious competitor. I think he may be his last standing serious competitor, Jenna.
Can Mitt Romney go up against Newt Gingrich when it comes to aggressive attacks?
Well, here's the thing about Newt Gingrich, you know, watching him all these years like I have. I was a bad high school wrestler, and one of the reasons I was a bad high school wrestler is that I used to lunge at my opponents sort of desperately, so the opponent didn't actually have to do anything. He could count on Barbash to just kind of lunge across the mat and step back, and I would fall on my face. Now, Newt Gingrich's record is not a good one. He's a lunger. And if you recall his history as Speaker of the House, he started out as a hero, and within a matter of 2 years, everybody disliked him, including his own party, and 2 years later he was out of contention, and he had some of the lowest favorability ratings in the history of that job. So, you know, I don't give political advice, but, you know, maybe wrestling advice. This guy's a lunger. Let him go. He's already, in a short period of time he's been running for president, chalked up a list of things he's had to apologize for or explain, words that are a little bit intemperate or out of control. If I were campaigning against him, you know, I'd just let him implode on his own.
It's an interesting story. Things have gotten better since those wrestling days for you.
Yes, things have.
For all of us since high school.
I quit. Yeah.
Thankfully. You know, you mentioned one of the top competitors, a name that we continue to talk about, which is Ron Paul. And there's two ads I'd like to show our viewers that Ron Paul came out with just recently, one just today. This first one shows Ron Paul getting aggressive. Let's take a look at this.
What's up with these sorry politicians? Lots of art. When it's showtime, whimpering like little shih tzus. You want big cuts. Ron Paul's been screaming it for years. Budget crisis, no problem.
Kind of hits home, doesn't it? All right, that's Ron Paul. That's his ad just in general against the establishment, if you will. Here's his ad that he just launched today in Iowa, specifically going after Gingrich.
Everything that Gingrich railed against when he was in the House, he went the other way when he got paid to go the other way.
He's demonstrating himself to be the very essence of the Washington insiders.
It's about serial hypocrisy.
So I guess the question we could ask today is does Mitt Romney need to get more aggressive if Ron Paul is already out with these ads doing some of the work for him?
Well, your point is exactly correct. Let Ron Paul do the work for him. Mitt Romney has some of the same vulnerabilities as Newt Gingrich, not the ethical issues, of course, but the flip-flopping. He's been on every side of every issue. And you can run the same identical ads, serial position, serial hypocrisy, whatever, for both of them. So I personally think that again, it might be a mistake for Romney to get out there and accuse Newt Gingrich of something for which Romney himself is so vulnerable. Why not let Ron Paul do it? You know, Ron Paul seems to have the money to pay for the ads.
And sure, and that certainly got our attention. We just played it for him. Fred, final question here, and this one really just has to do in general with these type of elections as someone that watches them so closely. It brings up well, how long our memories are or how short they are. Most of us can't even remember yesterday. I'm speaking for myself personally. So when I'm reminded of things that happened in the 1990s or even reminded of what happened a couple years ago with Mitt Mitt Romney. I'm curious about how much relevance that really plays into voters today who are dealing with today's issues. And quite frankly, you know, America likes to come back in general. So how much does the past really matter here when we're looking ahead at the future?
Well, right now, they don't know Gingrich. You're right. The past, first of all, many voters are too young to remember those days, so you're absolutely right. But when they start to get dredged up, remember, people's campaigns have been done in, historically, by things that they did 30 years ago. So if you find the right pressure point, it doesn't matter really when it happened. It's a matter of introducing your opponent to people who don't know him, highlighting, of course, the unfavorable aspects of his record. And Gingrich is running on his record, after all, as Speaker. That is his claim to fame. I'm the only one who's held responsible high public office. I'm the only one who knows really how Washington works. So if he's going to do that, he's going to have it sort of thrown back at him. He will have raised the subject. And I think one of the reasons Gingrich is doing so well in the polls, to be perfectly honest, is that people don't know who he is really anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting, and your article just addressed that directly. You had a long piece on Newt Gingrich and what happened, again, through his political life. And one of the questions you raised is whether or not the folks that worked with Gingrich at the time that are still in political power will back him, and we saw some of that on Fox News Sunday. Fred, thank you so much for your strategic expertise, wrestling and otherwise. We look forward to having you back.
Very well.
I was a bad high school wrestler,
you
too.
Were?
Yes. So I guess,
were you a lunger?
I just could never remember what to do when I got stuck. So
really?
I guess I can't be president.
Who knew?
There's some new information.